Mr. Roger Jardine, and we have our beautiful master, I don't know, what's the gender right way of saying this? Mistress or no? It's not mistress of ceremonies, no. Muiponi, she's going to be our MC for today. I was just helping us to settle down so that we can start. It's not going to be a long program. I know Saturday is very important. We don't want to keep it too long. Je weet as mense wat dorp raak, jy sien net by die oor drol sommer. Yeah. Okay. Now, we will be welcomed, and I will have a few ways to share with you in introducing our main speaker, Roger, and to talk about why we are here, why you are here, why South Africa needs to be here, and where South Africa needs to go to. Because where we are is not a nice place. We know where we come from. It just doesn't feel right. That's why we are here, to think about what can we do, what are the options that we have. We do have options. That was what 1994 was about. And we are here today, once again, to say, change must start now. We are in charge. So, bengizocelake utata ulungile Mxuba azo samukela, so that I can be able to know that I've now got the right to speak, because lendlule ngeyenu uzandamukela, even though eqhamuka ngase Grahamstown.
Thank you, Richard. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for this opportunity to warmly welcome the founder leaders of the Change Starts Now movement. You are welcome to the Eastern Cape. This is your home, a home of the legends. This is the birthplace of many outstanding revolutionaries and leaders of our liberation struggle in South Africa. Highly respected leaders whose achievements have now been reversed by corrupt leaders in this country. You came at the right time so that you can give the people of the Eastern Cape a message of hope, because we really need that. We are really sick and tired of corruption. We are sick and tired of poverty. We are sick and tired of leaders who are abusing taxpayers to feed themselves. They are so corrupt, they are far more worse than a mouse in a cheese factory. When a mouse gets into a cheese factory, it continues to steal the cheese, forgetting that the cheese may be a poison. So thank you very much for starting this vision. Our generational president, you are not only a founder leader, we want you to be a generational president to stabilize our country. Welcome to the Eastern Cape. This is your home. Thank you very much.
Molweni, ninjani? Hayi ungathani nampilo la epi. Molweni. Goeiedag. It's nice to be here. Kumnandi kubala. Aha, now you're talking. Thank you so much for the lovely and the warm welcome, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm sure it's been a long week for everybody, but I cannot take for granted the fact that you've all taken the time to be here. And I think, if anything, it's a sign that so many of us are fed up. So many of us are tired of what we see all around us. And the most important thing is, so many of us are willing to have a conversation about what it is that we can all do to change our country and the trajectory that we're going on. And with that said, my name is Muiponi Molotlanyi. I'm from Orange Farm in Joburg. So mina is a cherry fandikasi af, ne? Yeah, so you can't fool me. Yeah. The other day I got off a Gautrain bus, and then this guy said to me, "Hey, sissy, that wig that you are carrying." I was like, it's fake, me brother. You don't have to take it. It's fake. It's fake. And I started changing my walk and started bouncing just to show him that, hey, I guess it's clever. Yeah. But you can call me Moy because I'm really pretty. And can I just be honest? I think Gqeberha is such a beautiful city, and it is so friendly. Yeah, and born, and you know what's the other important word I learned? Ndinganyiwe. Itini? Yeah, I learned that one. But those are the two very important words. Yeah, so I would like to just share a story of a very friendly guy that I met yesterday. His name is Mandla. And before you get any ideas, no, we just had a conversation about architecture. So I called my husband and I shared this story. I said, I'm meeting so many wonderful people in PE. I think I'm going to write you a letter and tell you that I'm adding another husband to our household. And then he said to me, no problem, I'll also write you a letter back saying you'll be sleeping on the couch for the rest of the year. So I said, no, I withdraw my application, thanks. But I met this friendly guy called Mandla, and I think we had such an interesting conversation because during the day he's an architecture student, and at night he's an Uber driver to try and make up, obviously, for the shortage of scholarship that he has at university. He comes from Zwide, and I think in the midst of everything that we were talking about, the most interesting thing for me was a concept that he shared, and he said blueprint. And I said, what is a blueprint? And he said, no, basically a blueprint is a plan that is very solid, that is clear, and has a very detailed idea of what it is that you're trying to build when you're an architect. So I thought, that's very high level English. Mandla, I'm a cherry from the Kasi, ne? Try and simplify this thing. What are you saying? He says, no, when you do architecture, we study blueprints, and if you don't get the blueprint right, it doesn't matter what you build or what you use, you will never get it right. So I said, hey man, simplify this thing. Look, at Orange Farm, when they built a mall, I saw that they put a picture up there. And then they showed you, this is the mall, this is the date by when we will have done building the mall, these are the shops that we're going to have at the mall. Is that what a blueprint basically looks like? And he says, yes, that's what I'm talking about. And I think today we're here to have a conversation about what is South Africa's blueprint? What is South Africa's blueprint? What is the plan? We need one, and we need it urgently. Things cannot go on like this. And it is time that we have an honest and frank conversation, because you can't change what you can't acknowledge. We need to acknowledge that things are not going well. But there is something we can do about it. We can have a conversation about the blueprint and what it is that we are willing to leave for our children's children. Now, that cannot happen if we are not willing to sacrifice some things. That cannot happen if we are not willing to stand up and be brave, and others will call us crazy, others will call us mad, others will say, don't bother. But there's that voice inside of you that says, something has to change, and only I can do something about it. So we all have to take some level of ownership. And with that, I would like to welcome all of you and thank you that you are all willing to have a conversation with us. And what I'm excited about in this program is you will meet men and women from Change Starts Now who are not claiming to have all the answers, but are saying something has got to change, and we cannot do it without you. And with that said, please allow me to welcome onto stage and Tate Murphy, Morobe, and Tate Aslam, and our Change Starts Now leader, Mr. Roger Jardine, please, with a warm welcome. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Right. And I keep telling Aslam, that hat looks so good on you, but I think it suits me better. What do you think? Yeah. No, okay, I'll get it. Thank you so much. Without expropriation, compensation without expropriation of the hat, please. So with that said, I'd like to welcome you, Roger, onto stage. So you can please just share a sense of what is this blueprint that we keep talking about? And what is the plan that we need to have in our minds? And what can we do as a collective to change the trajectory of our country? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not Roger. I'm going to lay the base from which Roger would introduce his thoughts with us so that we can get to understand better what it is that drives him to make this crazy decision that he wants to step into the ring and contribute his energy, his life, his skills to help fix the country. We will have the opportunity afterwards to engage with him, ask questions, so that we can get to know and hear you from your own voices, from your own hearts, what you are feeling, what you are going through. There's as many dreams and wishes as many of you in this house. Part of the challenge of leadership is going to have to listen to those dreams, to put them together in a way so that if you come to him, you might be able to live with a basket in which you'll be able to fit in all the treasures and insights that will help you as you go on in your life. That is what we do. It's not for him to give you the basket and keep the basket for himself. It's meant to be for you to help live a life that is meaningful, your children to grow in environments where they feel worthy and appreciated, and where old people are appreciated and looked after and not have their sasa ground stolen every month by their children. So those are the things that we're going to talk about. But mine is basically to lead into that conversation with a few comments. And basically to say that, we are here, this is a province of legends. It's said this province is a province of legends. Now, I can mention one or two, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. I can mention Governor Mbeki. I can mention Raymond Mhlaba. I can even mention Nelson Mandela. I can mention Wilton Mkwai. I can mention people like the Septembers, who were all in exile. There's many. And where, aside from this, the greatness that this place represents, that this part of South Africa is known for. That's why when we come here, we also have to humble ourselves to what this part of the world has meant for South Africa. This is as far back as the colonial wars, the wars against the Boers in those days, the Voortrekker wars across the Kei River against the British settlers, etc. Those were all the wars that defined the character of where we are at today. And so, but you're also known for rugby. You've got champions, Siya Kolisi. We are also known for non-racial sports. I remember the days of Saru, non-racial sport in the townships. We are also known for musicians, Winston Mankunkundlov, We are also known for boxing, I can mention Mzimasi Mnguni, the great coach and fan who nurtured some of the best sons and daughters of this province. Omqaji, Ongqoshe, Welcome Ncita. Great boxers who went on to win world championships coming from this province. Those are people who make us to be able to walk tall, to feel that we are also part of the world and we can make our lives be meaningful. Of course, there's Makaya Ntini, There was my days when I played cricket in the 70s. We had people like Kaya Majola, we had people like Edward Habane or Duncan Stamper that we played cricket with. And of course, when you come to rugby, who forgets Dan Gqeberha and the rugby fraternity? And we should be proud people walking tall everywhere we walk and not feel weighed down by those who we put trust on and have disappointed us. And they've taken away from what we wanted to be, people with dignity. The fact that our children go to bed without food. When you talk about hunger, hunger is what begins to define the Eastern Cape. What will drive a woman to kill 3 or 2 of her children? If you recall the story in Lusikisiki, that story is a story that captures the South Africa that we live in now, that captures the challenges that ordinary people are having to deal with. Is the kinds of issues that make some of us who were part of that organizations over many years to really think, say, it just can't go on like this. People have been failed. People put trust in 1994 following elections, etc. Now people need to come up and take decisions about what they need to do. But we are here with Roger Jardine to say change must start now. We are saying, come elections, we can't go to the polls, to the elections, and put our X next to the name of a party we know has in the past 10 to 15 years made us to feel more and more desperate when everything they were supposed to look after has been broken under their watch. I don't have to tell you about the roads you have to travel through. I don't have to tell about sewage in your streets. I don't have to tell about electricity. I don't have to talk about the joblessness that makes all of our communities feel so vulnerable and poor. So if one looks at those, you will say that they will tell you that you will vote for, they'll say, please vote for us because we've brought you freedom. We've brought you freedom. But we know it was actually the blood of Matthew Goniwe, Sparrow Mkonto, Sicelo Mhlauli, Fort Galata in Craddock who were killed in 1985 by the apartheid regime. It is their blood that made our tree to grow tall. These are the sons of this province that watered that tree of freedom. Indeed, it was the blood of the Pepco 3, those who remember Pepco, Usipho Hashe, uQaqawule Kotolozi, uChampion Galela. They were killed by the special branch also in that period. And that defines who we are. I spoke about your sports. When you are happy, when you celebrate, you play great sports in this country, you give us champions. And I talk about the people who were killed because they were fighting for our freedom. They are dead now, they are gone now. We remain to worry about what they left us. And ours is to pick up where they left off and really continue and not to disappoint them, even in their sleep. And this is not to mention Spiwe Mthimkhulu, if you remember. Spiwe Mthimkhulu and Topsy Madaga. They were murdered by the apartheid police. If you remember the story, he could not be traced, his body. They took his body and they put it in a drum of acid. And it is, So when we say change starts now, it's because I know that they would not be standing by idly, looking on as the condition of their country, their people gets worse and worse, and which when looked at by any measure of development, it will show that there is hunger that defines us, even as there are people who are the most wealthiest in the world. We have, in fact, the hungriest people as well on earth, with all the land that is there for us to cultivate. So I'm here accompanying Roger Jardine, who will be leading our new movement and soon to be registered as a party called Change Starts Now. The application is in the post, I think it's at the IEC now, and hopefully they'll respond soon. Then we can then really get into the campaigning mode as and when, in fact, the period starts. South Africans want change of government, as it is our constitution and as it is our constitutional right to so demand, if and when then those who are currently in power have failed in the job. You know, sometimes politics are very weird. It's the one place where failure gets rewarded. You know, you promise, you don't keep your promise, you still get elected back, and you elect them again, you hope they'll change, and they don't change. So we do have South Africans in their hundreds who want to come forward to help South Africa come out of this trap of underdevelopment. The cadre deployment of current government has been experienced as a mechanism to keep patriotic, skilled individuals from critical public sector roles. So that has got to stop. So that merit must be the critical factor that determines who gets brought in to help us fix this country. So I hope Mr. Jardine will play that role in helping us change from that kind of scenario. So as we work towards our Change Starts Now manifesto, we are at a stage where we want to genuinely hear what the people say. We want to genuinely lend our ear, where we can then also join in flexing our muscle to find ways in which we can get the solutions. It does therefore give me great pleasure to invite Roger Jardine to the stage to tell us about what keeps him awake at night and how he sees the vision at the end of the horizon. So as we are here, before I do that, I thank you all for having made your time here. You've got the water. I'm sure there'll be some service at the end where you can, just to help the time, you get a little bit lined up. But we know that if you can give it now, there'll be a lot of trouble. But we are a patient people, and we are here to hear what Dr. Jardine is going to share with us. And thereafter, we'll then open up the session for conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great. Well, good afternoon. Molweni. Sanibonani. Dumelang. Goeiedag. Hola. Thank you for coming this afternoon, and it's so good to be here. And as Murphy just reminded us, we should be so aware and so conscious of where we stand today. Here in the Eastern Cape, a region that is known as the home of people who were proud and fierce in their resistance. The wars of dispossession and resistance fought over a century ago between the British and the Xhosa people marked the longest running military action. I don't know if you all knew this. It was the longest running military action in the history of European colonialism in Africa. But more specifically, I stand here in Gqeberha, formerly known as Port Elizabeth, a city that has played an outsized role in the struggle against apartheid. It is here in the city that you call home, that the Defiance campaign first rocked the country, with more people participating in Port Elizabeth than in the larger cities of Joburg, Cape Town, and Durban, and where the first arrests and detentions in that campaign of Raymond Mhlaba, who led the march together with Z.K. Matthews, all took place here in this city. And that happened not far from where we are today, at the New Brighton railway station. They entered the Europeans-only section. I don't know if the young people here can imagine, but for those of us who grew up with those signs, they entered the Europeans-only section. And then, of course, that I stand here in Struendale, which is along a belt of an industrial area that extends to Deelparty, Markman, and Perseverance. And it remains to this day a legacy of the apartheid separate development policy that still stands between people and shows the city along visible racial lines. This place is famed as the birthplace of so many who resisted the indignities and cruelties of that unjust system. It was here, in New Brighton, that the first Umkhonto we Sizwe cell was formed. It has also been home to so many of our most inspiring artists, like John Carney, the late Nomsa Nkonyeni, Athol Fugard, and Winston Nchona, to name but a few. Now, I'm also very pleased to share with you that some of my own roots are here from the Eastern Cape, and I take incredible pride in my links to the people here who we all know are courageous, fierce, and inspiring. I can tell you, my great-grandmother was from this place. So it's good, it feels like home. This morning I was at the Adcock Stadium, and as a little boy representing what was then Transvaal, I played for Transvaal schools. I came to the Adcock Stadium to play rugby. And this morning I met with a lot of young people at the Adcock Stadium. And it was there also that I watched some of the great players from KwaZulu rugby. My father used to take me. People like Mongezi Majola, Makaya Jack, Peter Mkata, and Temba Ledwaba. They played for Kwaru. And there was another local legend, Des Boyson, who is with us today. He represented Eastern Province Rugby. They became role models to all of us and heroes to many of us. It is in the city that I come today, where I have many early memories, and it's good to be here today. Now, Murphy mentioned the terrible events of Cradock in 1985. As a family, we were left very fearful when my father, Bill Jardine, who traveled to the Eastern Cape to the funeral, he disappeared for 2 weeks. It turned out that he was pulled off a bus carrying UDF activists and simply disappeared. No one told the family where he was. He was returning from that funeral. Thankfully, he returned to us. But the families of Fort Kalata, Matthew Goniwe, Sicelo Mhlauli, and Sparrow Mkhonto, killed by the apartheid police for their activism and their protest, their families never received that comfort. And still today, those families, despite a remarkable and relentless pursuit of justice, they are left without the comfort of knowing that their father's killers were required to pay any price at all for their crimes. It is truly unfortunate that no prosecution of the torturers and murderers during that difficult time has taken place in post-apartheid South Africa. And people wonder why, when you talk about the Eastern Cape, people feel like a forgotten people, a forgotten place. The Eastern Cape and its people seem all but abandoned. And that's evident everywhere in the streets. And the statistics, you see what Stats SA and everybody tells us, it paints a terrible picture of destitution and mismanagement. It paints a picture of a land where people are suffering the consequences. Today I want to talk about the consequences of the choices that we make, because we see the picture of the consequences of poor decisions and poor leadership. We talk about consequences in every aspect of our lives. We want to see consequences for bad things. Let's think about the consequences when we vote. Today, the Eastern Cape has the highest unemployment rate in the country, reaching 38.8% in the fourth quarter of last year. Young people sitting in this audience, the youth in particular, account for 52% of this group, and 40% of women who are without jobs here in this place we so fondly call the home of legends. I always tell people who refer to the newspapers and to statistics, you do not need to read the reports, and you'll confirm this for me. I say to them, forget about the reports in the newspapers. You just need to visit a township on any day of the week, and then you can see people young and old have no jobs, no prospects. I assure you that no statistic will ever capture the desperation and despair, and Murphy referred to this. The desperation and despair fueled by poverty and hunger that led not one but two young mothers here in the Eastern Cape in 2023 to take their lives and the lives of their children. They were forced by desperation. They deemed it the only way to escape poverty's unremitting pain. Now we say two young women, statistics. These people have names. These numbers have individuals with hopes. These are real people, our people, ambitions, dreams. Who can imagine, can you imagine, the horror and the hopelessness that must have overwhelmed Bongeka Buso and Intombizanele Mtizela, and what led them to these acts? Just think of it. And here is something more. As this infuriates us, in 2022, the Eastern Cape government forfeited, they lost, they gave back 67 million rand of unspent funds set aside as social relief of distressed crowds. For how long, I ask you today, for how long are we willing to suffer the consequences of choosing a government that forgets about us? A government led by a party that we all know belongs to the past. We talk about being a country where leaders are not held accountable, and we say there are no consequences. We lament, in fact, that there are no consequences for their crimes of omission. And I think it's important, I think it's very important, that we remind ourselves that the fact that these people who are responsible for this behavior are elected as a consequence of the way we vote in this country. Change starts now. The power of the ballot box means that we can and we should demand change. Last year, the South African Human Rights Commission highlighted an important matter that so many of us confront: the high levels of food insecurity in the province. People are starving. I don't need to tell you this. People are going hungry. People go to bed without food in their stomachs. This is not right. It cannot continue this way. And people ask me, why are you doing this? I'll tell you why I'm doing this. It makes me angry. It doesn't have to be this way. We have a different path. And I see a recommendation that child malnutrition in the Eastern Cape must be declared a state of disaster. Now, when you watch the news and you see disaster, you see something caused by nature, right? You see a flood. You see a hurricane. You see an earthquake. That's a disaster. The impoverishment of people here is a man-made disaster. It wasn't caused by nature or acts of God. It's a man-made disaster. Our people are going to bed hungry as a consequence of choosing a government that does not care, and I know this because you tell me this, they do not see you. We need a government that sees its people. And we all know we are all victims of crime in some way or another. And when we sit around our tables and we have tea and we talk to our neighbors, I don't know about you, but I hear all the time that criminals have it too easy amongst us. Do you agree with that statement? Here in Galvindale, the police station saw an increase of 154% in drug-related crimes between January and March 2023. Now I want to ask you to imagine this. You see, we're saying we need to start imagining the country that we want. Imagine streets, schools, and public spaces where everyone feels safe, especially women and children. Just imagine. Imagine a government completely free of corruption and incompetence. Imagine. Our communities, I spoke to a lot of people this morning, who all tell me the same thing. Our communities have been surrendered to criminal syndicates who now rule with impunity. We must make sure that criminals are accountable. And it's actually very simple. If you're a criminal, you must know that if you commit a crime, you will be caught. You know, we talk amongst each other. People do what they want to because they're not worried about being caught. If you commit a crime, you will be caught. And once you are caught, you will receive a fair but speedy trial. And once you are found guilty, if you are convicted, you will go to jail. And we know in that whole system there, criminals feel like, nothing will happen. The justice system needs to be fair and impartial. It has to be fair and impartial. Our Constitution is based on that. But criminal actions should have consequences. And it should have consequences, especially for those who abuse positions of leadership in our society. You can all remember that during the COVID-19 pandemic, when so much of our country was ravaged by illness, fear, and terrible economic pain, here, the Department of Health sought to buy scooter ambulances. Do you all remember that? For 10 million rand. The public outcry and special tribunal later rendered this acquisition invalid and unlawful. And here we are in this beautiful province. We cannot ignore the wasteland of this deindustrialization and the collapse that surrounds us. This is a man-made disaster. This wasn't caused somewhere in the heavens. This is a man-made disaster. And it is a disaster caused by our politics. But we can fix it. Our public services are in a state of systemic disrepair, owing to corruption in appointments, tenders. There's a nice word, they say procurement irregularities, but we all know tenders for friends and family. We need to end this culture of jobs and tenders for friends. And it comes at the expense of the public. We must imagine a new future together. And we are all of us, we are in this together. That's why we are here today. No one's going to divide us as South Africans. No one's going to divide us. There are lots of voices that wants to divide South Africans. We are here together, and we are all experiencing the consequences of a 20-year infrastructure backlog. And we all know the pain. We all know the pain caused by load shedding. Whether it's for our families, our businesses, we feel it in our daily lives. Here we have harbors. The harbors and the logistics have not kept pace with requirements. It should be allowing for economic expansion so that we can create jobs here in the Eastern Cape and in Gqeberha. but it's choking the economy because of poor leadership. This economy, this local economy, has long had a proud history of activity in the textile, leather, and clothing sector. You know, in 1995, this industry employed 25% of the manufacturing workforce in this province. By 2015, half of this was gone. More than 150,000 jobs have been lost across the country in this sector since 1996. And the impact here has been significant. And I'm sharing this with you because you are telling all of us, jobs, jobs, jobs is a priority. We have to focus on creating employment for our people. And companies are barely surviving in the sector. Never mind growing productively and being able to create opportunities and more jobs. This sector has tremendous potential and will support the reindustrialization of our country. With leadership, better policies, and intentions, a resolve, I know these investments, jobs, and more can be restored. We have the will. We have the skills. We have the infrastructure here in Gqeberha and elsewhere, and the promulgated zones. But right now, it all looks like a white elephant. There is very little happening, and no jobs are being created. Can you imagine a government that works with all actors to make this happen? We have the connectivity to entrepreneurs, to the global markets, and know that we can mobilize local retail companies to make this dream a reality. The reality that these initiatives could create jobs for thousands of people, and tens of thousands if we get it right. We must focus on the right things. Right now, there are global developments that are affecting us here in the sports city. Global developments are offering Mzansi Africa opportunities for growth and development that we can't take advantage of. Attacks on ships in the Red Sea are redirecting ship traffic from the Suez Canal, if you watch the news, you'll see, around the coast of South Africa because of war and fighting in that part of the world. The number of ships, shipping volumes along the coastline have surged. We can't take advantage of that because our ports cannot be stopping points. We should be waking up to seeing very busy ports around us, but the ports can't service this demand. And did you know this, by the way? Our ports in South Africa are the worst in operational efficiency in the world. We have the worst ports. Other countries around us have better ports than South Africa. This should not be this way. And this isn't just a concept out there. When the ports are working, companies can sell their products, they can create jobs, the economy can grow. We all have a stake in what happens around us. And when the ports fail, we fail. And this is another consequence of the choices that we made in previous elections. We must choose change. Imagine the ports of the Eastern Cape are world-class and can boost exports of our automotive products and other products. You all know this is the home of several manufacturers like VW, Mercedes, Ford, Isuzu, BMW. It contributes 7% to the province's GDP, and it employs 40,000 people. You read the news. This sector is facing serious challenges. And I think one CEO the other day said he's very worried about the way we as South Africa are responding to these issues. And we all chuckle when we hear about electric vehicles, right? Because there's load shedding and we're talking about electric vehicles. But the truth of the matter is, the whole world is shifting to electric vehicles. They're more cost-effective and environmentally friendly. But the Eastern Cape has to keep up with this trend. And it's unable to do that because of lack of support and incentives from the government. The leadership of this country must treat this sector, which is so important to the people of this province. They must treat it with more urgency and more seriously. And industries like manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, and trade are being strangled by the lack of care and attention. And if you ask yourself, why do I not have a job? Why is my family unemployed? Why are the young people so aimless? It's because we're not focusing on these things to create opportunities for everyone. And we all know that in this beautiful province, people are leaving. Even with 4 institutions of higher learning, young people are going elsewhere to look for opportunities because the economy is too small. And we can make it big and grow again. People go hoping to build a better future for the kids elsewhere. They leave Impuma Colony. They go somewhere else. And then we are gutted of talent and young people in this country. But we say this is the home of the legends. We say this is where legends are made. And consistent with the history of the people here, we say people who know the struggle. Epondweni, Abantu, Abawazio, Nzabalazo. People who know the struggle. People who have stayed down oppression and assault. There is a ferocious demand for change here. And we are seeing the demand for a new movement to reclaim the state from corrupt politicians. It is surging all over the country. It is even more strongly felt here in Nelson Mandela Bay. We have talked to many people, and they are telling us that the ANC is a party of the past. What we are hearing is they may receive as little as 40% of the vote, and only a third of the people are now trusting the party to govern. This means that a national coalition is on the cards in 2024. A national coalition. Now, we all have seen how coalitions work. Our approach to these coalitions, you cannot form a coalition to decide who gets what position. A coalition must be what kind of society are we trying to build together. So we have a different vision for how we collaborate with other political parties. For us, coalitions are not about sharing the spoils. Coalitions must be about a common shared vision for a better future in our country. For young people, change is especially true because it is they who are critical to our future and who should be at the center of our social, economic, and political life. And we know that you want to reclaim this province, its towns and cities, and indeed the whole country from corrupt politicians. We know that you've lost faith in the current political actors, and you know that we've lost faith of them being able to lead change. And we also know that South Africans want leaders with real skills and abilities to run government properly. But we know that we can't pass that responsibility. We can't pass that responsibility to make better decisions to anyone else other than ourselves. Today, more than ever, we need to understand the consequences. We must understand the consequences of the choices that we have made the last time we vote. Because if we vote the same way, we will get more of the same. So I'm here today to tell you that I refuse to give up hope. I believe in this country. I believe in our people. The consequences of carrying on the way we are will be severe for all of us. And that's why I'm here today with a team of men and women, patriots. We have stood up to say, and we say, stand up with us. Let us all stand up together to say, enough is enough. Genoeg is genoeg. Kwanele. 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 Imagine the Eastern Cape becomes a province where its cities and its people thrive and are fully enabled to seek a wide variety of opportunities for themselves and their children. Where we see investment in public systems, public infrastructure, and public services, so that we can create opportunities for everyone to be whatever they want to be. And now you ask, okay, you've seen it all. What will change need to be and what will it look like? Because you see, everyone is just tired of people coming and saying, you know, everyone. Our first order of business will be to kickstart. You see, these things have been talked about forever. They just haven't been done. I'm actually not even telling you anything new. We just need the people who can get things done. We need to kickstart an investment cycle with a very large infrastructure program. This will create growth and employment. We are in a very strong position to redirect companies, domestic companies' savings. People are holding on to their money. They are scared. They have no confidence. We can redirect that money back into the South African economy. For this to happen, investors must trust that we will do what we say. And to date, the government has failed to understand the dynamics that will unlock investment. Can I ask you this? How do you expect investors to trust the government when we don't trust the government? It's not going to happen. We know what needs to be done, and we know how to get things done. Turning around our basic services in the areas of health, education, security, social services. You know, the other day I was speaking to somebody on a SASSA grant. Now, people will tell you that if you don't vote for the current party, you won't get a SASSA grant. Is it a lie? Is it a lie? It's in the Constitution. Sometimes some people joke that they are ministers of votes when they're running social department. This person wakes up at 4 a.m. every morning, needs to have a medical checkup for their SASSA grant. They only see 80 doctors a day. So it takes him more than 5 days of waking up at 4 a.m. every morning. It doesn't have to be this way. Where is the dignity in that? Where is the dignity in that? I don't know about you, but it makes me angry that people have to go through that. And we should all be angry about it. We can't shrug and say, it's our lot in life. It is that way. It does not have to be this way. And so we must do all of these things to revitalize our communities and to reinstall the values that promote social cohesion and promote opportunities. My message today is basically, we are witnessing the consequences of having the wrong people in charge in this country. People who do not see us. They do not see you. They see themselves and their families. This mess can be reversed. We must choose change now. Can we talk about water for a minute? I know I've been talking long here. You all see the effects of water and this crisis affecting the region. Can I ask you, why does Gqeberha have no water? Why is there no water in Makanda? Why is this all happening now? The collapse of water distribution systems is not an accident. I told you early, it's a man-made disaster. It is a combination of years of neglect through the misappropriation of infrastructure budgets. Don't you wonder, why is it that water systems that have worked for years are caving in overnight, regardless of the levels of water in the dams? And here's the thing, And you all know this. This collapsing water story, it has created a new industry in the supply of water tankers. And you all know who runs these water tankers also. Why must we always be right at the end of the line? And we know that public figures benefit from this collapsing water infrastructure. And these problems do not happen without our consent. We give consent to this stuff. We consent to it when we go and we vote the same way at every election. There are consequences to the way we vote. So we have poor water scarcity, poor water quality, and inadequate water infrastructure. The Department of Water and Sanitation says the province needs 120 billion rand to fix its problems. We know that about 24%, okay, of households in this province use unimproved water, such as rivers, springs, and wells, which are often contaminated and unsafe. We cannot carry on this way. If taps without running water are not simply going to become just another way of life, another symptom of the gross neglect and abandonment of this part of the world, there must be change. But much of the water shortage is owed to a dysfunctional and broken infrastructure. And so much of it is lost in water pipes. We need to understand the problem so that we can fix it and get the right people to fix it. The infrastructure needed, the spend needed in this province is going to be hundreds of billions of rands. And as I mentioned earlier, and if we don't do this, we know this word load shedding. It's on all of our minds, right? If we don't do this, we're going to learn a new word in this country, which is already happening. It's called water shedding. So now we have load shedding and we're going to have water shedding. And load shedding and water shedding is dignity shedding. It robs us of our dignity. And we must ensure that we do not squander this opportunity to unlock growth in this region. No one can seriously imagine that the current political incumbents with a notorious record of corruption and wasteful expenditure will be able to inspire the confidence needed for this investment to happen. We must choose change. The Eastern Cape, despite all its riches and great opportunities, has the worst unemployment, the worst poverty, and the worst inequality in the country. Systematic corruption in public authorities and services is making us a broken society. It exposes us to criminal syndicates who can now rule freely because the government has ceased to function, despite people being paid a lot of money to do their jobs. And so when some members of the police form relationships with criminal gangs, no one is safe. When basic education services fail, the future of our children is stolen. When public infrastructure fails, businesses fail, jobs disappear, and investment goes elsewhere. And sadly, it's not because of the lack of money that so many things are failing. It needs leadership that can make things happen. And there will be consequences if we do not change the leadership of this country. We will have more of the same. There is absolutely no reason. There is no reason for this province to be a thirsty province. There is no reason for this province to be a hungry province. There is no reason for this province to be an unemployed province. There is no reason for this province to be a forgotten province. There is no reason for this province to be an abandoned province. If we want to reverse the collapse of our public functions, then we must renew and replace the leadership structures of this government. This region has produced so many of our country's greatest heroes and leaders. These traditions run deep. There is no lack of courage and conviction to bring about change. I am asking you, be the change. Change starts now, is a political party, and we aim to contest the election in 2024. We will release our manifesto on the 19th of February. We will come to you and ask you for your guidance, support. Because you see, leaders must listen to the people. Leaders must listen to the people. And so we ask you to register to vote. Vote for change. Ndiyabulela. Ndiyabulela. Ndiyabonga. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Kumnandi Gqeberha. It's nice to be here. We have the will, we have the skills, we have the connectivity. We must just focus on the right things. The opportunities are all around us. That's what Roger said just now. I hope it sinks in, ladies and gentlemen, because today we came up with a blueprint and we did it together. And I just want to ask you, Roger, and maybe before that, can I just recognize our Race of Hope cyclists team that are here? We would like to welcome you, and we appreciate your presence. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And before I hand over to you, ladies and gentlemen, our most important guests for today, I would like to just ask Roger one question. Roger, you've given us a sense of, you know, how everything has gone wrong, and you've also given us a sense of that there is hope. But I just want to ask you, what made you basically convince your spirit and your mind and your family to say, you know what, I cannot tweet. You know, we all tweet and we SMS and we tell each other over a price then, and we call ourselves warriors. But somehow you said, you know what, enough is enough and I have to do something about it. So what was that personal conviction that got you to say, I'm willing, without having all the answers, to have a conversation with all South Africans, no matter what they look like, no matter where they are from, and fix this country?
Thanks, Moy. You know, I mentioned earlier that I used to come here as a child, and my family was quite involved in rugby, and my late father was a well-known activist. And so I grew up in a very politically aware home. And then I went to study, and I was very, very honored to be a DG in the Mandela government at a very young age. And I've been in business for almost 25 years. My most recent job was as the chairman of one of the biggest banks in South Africa. I'm not going to say which one in case you don't bank with that one. But I've been watching the way this country is going. And the worse it's become, the more people have been encouraging us to turn away from each other. I firmly believe, as South Africans, we mustn't turn on each other. We must turn to each other, because we will be stronger when we turn to each other. And I think there are more South Africans who want to work together than there are those who want to divide us. Because we have so many talents. We have the most amazing people in this country. We are such beautiful people. And at every turn, we are being made to feel like we're invisible. This government has made the people of this country invisible. And so as I went through thinking about how I can play a role with this election coming up, it seemed like the right time. Because, and why was 2024 so important? if we don't fix this now, in 2029, another 5 years of this, we're going to have a very different conversation. And so it's urgent. This is urgent. Please tell your friends and your family and your schools and your churches, tell everyone, this is urgent. South Africans together, let us build this future together. And so that's what drives me. And I feel such deep purpose about what we are doing, because there is so much at stake. Because the consequences of doing the same will give us the same. And so, Moya, I had this personal journey. I spoke to a lot of people I knew and trusted. And then, of course, it was a very long conversation with my family, because I said I'm thinking of moving away from what I'm doing. But this is what I want to do, and I want to do it with you. And let's all have that calling to fix this country, because no one person is going to fix this country. We are going to do it together as South Africans, as Team South Africa. And let's not be divided. Let us not be divided. Let us not be divided, because our unity is going to make this country the most amazing place. It's going to make this the most amazing place for us, for our children, and for the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Raja. And I would like to open up the floor to you, ladies and gentlemen. Can I check where the mics are? And we can take the first round of 3 questions, please. All right. I see the gentleman here. And then to my far. Are you thinking twice? Is there anyone this side? Okay. Can I ask that when you get the mic, as you step to the mic, please just give us your name and then be short, sharp, to the point. Okay. Can I ask that we settle down to that side, please?
Botano Mzonsundu, goeiemiddag.
Goeiemiddag.
Elengo Bengoluto. I just turned 20 last week, and I'm from Kwadwesi. Now, we all know that South Africa is a constitutional state, meaning that it has the constitution as a social contract between the populace and the state. Hence, that is why we have these constitutional values such as your universal franchise and social justice and open society. Now, when we speak about social justice, we are referring to fighting for those who are historically oppressed by the apartheid regime. We are fighting for access to socio-economic resources such as your clinics and other economic subsystems, your shopping centers and therefore. But by looking at, I'm very young, I'm 20, but by looking at the environment here in PE, we see that there are places that are lacking socially, economically, and evenly politically. And I question myself, I ask, is South Africa even a liberal democratic state? Now, my question. We know that there are policies such as your PAJA and social welfare that are there to actually get rid of maladministration and actually improve the welfare of our society. And what change will be brought? I know we speak about this, but what change will be brought to actually implement those policies effectively and also create integrated development to create this harmonious environment where all people from all races are binded, or there is this racial harmony amongst us. And as a person of the youth, I feel like I'm taking part of that such development.
Okay, and then I noted you, Budi. Just your name, please, and then short and sharp your third question. Thanks.
Ngozi. Molweni. Igama lami luvusa umzitambuza. Nonixolela kanti sisitshodo. The thing that I just want to say, as a youth there, I'm coming from Woma, Obotville, Gqeberha. The thing that I just want to tell my friends and my young ones and my family and everyone. Since we have a youth, like my mind, it's been 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now I think now my life started.
Hand over to you, sir. Extreme right.
Ndicela ndina-35 years ngoba ii-jobs azikwazi apha any chances that you can get jobs for abantu all over the age. Please, thank you.
No.
Working. It's sitting somewhere in a shelf. The situation gets worse and worse. But I think job for which they are paid. They have to come in the morning and spend the whole day being bent in the sun, just like the farmer who brings food to our tables actually does. So the people's attitude to work is a big problem, because the people who seem to be in these positions are only there to earn a salary and have no consideration for the outcomes that they're paid for. So it's a matter of attitude, it's a matter of ineffective management at senior government levels. Now, the point that he referred to about the person who has to wake up at 4 o'clock for a SASSA grant, and that they can only see 80 people per day. So that person has had to go back every day for 4 days before eventually they get seen. The waste in time, the energy, the separation from his family, and the lack of dignity in that. So to me, it's a definite problem. So talking about racial harmony, I was involved in the formation of the United Democratic Front in 1983. And many of you in this part of the country, you will remember that, those who were there in those times. A central element of what the UDF was about the promotion and development of non-racialism in our society, so that we can break apart the apartheid paradigm of separate development, separating races, so that they can get these ones to fight against this one, so that we always fight for resources. They'll give these ones more, less than those. So in the end, we see ourselves as the problem rather than the system that has been put in place. And here, we are about fighting the system. So we need to start talking of ourselves as a people, to the extent that we are different racial groups and cultural groups. That is incidental to your being a human being, first and foremost. So the first trust and the need amongst us is to hold together as a people, and the other things are secondary. So I think that our government, at least this government, you will find that we will find the language to engage about non-racialism. We'll find a way of organizing that will show indeed, not just in our heads, that we are reaching across every racial group in this country, so that a movement to be strong, it must be able to reflect the demographic of South Africa. Because South Africa, as the Constitution says, in the introduction of the Constitution, the preamble, it talks about building a non-racial, non-sexist, and democratic South Africa. That's just not a nice statement. It understands that we have to do something about it, not hope that it will happen, because it doesn't happen on its own. Government must have active policies and programs to actually encourage, incentivize us to move in that direction. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much. I want to talk about the youth and integrated development. I think, Murphy, how old were you when you were involved in the UDF and causing chaos to the apartheid state? 25?
About 25.
Okay, 25. So I ask that question because young people in this country today are so taken for granted. I'm so happy that you stood up first and asked that question. We were all young people once. And at the time, we made choices. And I can hear from your question that you want to be part of the future. And I'd really like us to have a chat afterwards, because change starts now. The way we have shaped it, we've shaped it as an intergenerational movement. So we have a Murphy Marobe, started the UDF with other people and has had his own journey. What he hasn't mentioned is that he also spent years on Robben Island with our leaders. And he has immense knowledge. And we have Dr. Aslam Dasude is a medical doctor, by the way. So you must feel free to get free medical advice on your way out. I've told you my journey. So we have to work with young people, and Parliament needs to reflect the concerns of young people. There needs to be more young people there who can take up the issues that you raise. You see, you spoke about integrated development and youth. Those things are so linked to the way we view our society. Now let me link it back to the economy, because there were two questions on jobs. We've done a lot of talking to people across this country. And we know what the key issues are. And the number one issue that we always hear is employment. And it's not just about your own employment, it's about children, it's about extended family. You know, we all look after each other. I don't know of any South African, black or white, who isn't helping a family member, a child next door, someone at school, someone who needs medical attention, someone who needs a school book. That's who we are as South Africans. And so this employment issue is a big issue. And I want to encourage everyone. Sometimes it can feel very difficult to follow what's being said about this economy, right? But I'm going to give you two examples on why we need change. How many times have you heard the government tell us that load shedding will end in 18 months' time? Or 12 months' time? How many times? And we all know that if everything is done that needs to be done, it will end in 3 or 4 years' time. And by everything I mean, we must make sure the coal-fired power stations are running. We must make sure we get solar panels and wind. We must make sure the private sector contributes. We must make sure that there's more power transmission lines. There's a lot of things that need to happen to end load shedding. Do you trust that this government will end load shedding with all of those things that needs to happen? You will just find another press statement that says load shedding is going to end in 18 months' time. Now, the reason why I'm picking on load shedding is because the experts will tell you, if we end load shedding, just by doing that alone, our economy will grow at 2.5%. It's below 1% at the moment. Now, you know what happens when the economy grows? Businesses grow, jobs are created, people are employed. So load shedding is far more than just not being able to cook at night and study and do other things that we are comfortable, watch TV. It is strangling our ability to get jobs in South Africa. So we have to fix load shedding for employment. It's not just a matter about the lights are off. There is a lot at stake, and there are consequences with these leaders that we have. So that will create growth. And we know how to do it, because the people are there. We just need management. South Africa needs to be under new management. I think let's put it that way. And then infrastructure. I told you earlier, the Department of Water and Sanitation is saying we need 120 billion rand here for water. When we spend money on infrastructure, we create jobs. And so this team will look at the things that are required to create jobs for people. And it goes back to the first question of how do we integrate all of that into development. I'll tell you what I've seen in the private sector. You're a young person. You get a diploma or a degree. You are lucky to get a learnership. Okay? Then you have your learnership. Yeah, I'm speaking only to the young people in the room. And then at the end of your learnership, that company struggles to keep you in a real job because the economy is not growing. And when the economy grows, you can study, you can dream, you can have that job, you can have that career. But right now, we're on a dead end, and we need to fix that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll try and wrap it up because I get a sense that we are all very keen to the part at the end of the program where there are refreshments served. But I think we're still on track in terms of having a very important conversation about the future of our country. So I'd like to open up the floor for the a second round of questioning on this side. I did jot a note hand here, ma'am. And then at the back, I'll hand over to you as well. Can I start with ma'am here in the front? And then, okay. So is the mic currently there? Okay, all right. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, ik waardeer dit. Danny, the floor is yours, yeah. Hello?
Okay.
I'm from the northern area.
Okay.
What I've noticed when we started, we must have in mind that we must build on the rock. We can't do anything without our God. Okay? We have to build on the rock who gives us the wisdom, the health, prosperity. The reader must take note of this. The ANC is long time gone. Apartheid in its worst. Apartheid in reverse at its worst.
Sure.
The day is gone for me. They are just as corrupt as the ANC. Now, change starts now. When you are the parties that we don't want. If we want to vote fast, we need to vote on the rock. We have to recognize the Lord in this. Okay? I'm running my own business, and I can see what the Lord does in my business. Just now, this lady here, Shirley Mingy, she said, "Hi, how are you? I'm Shirley Mingy. You still remember me?" In 1980, when I was still 19 years old, I was Shirley's superior at the Oak Ridge. We started Oak Ridge Green Acres. I was a superior. Okay? From a young age, I'm coming on to leadership. If we take the vine, one great tree, there is the vine. Okay? And if we see how many grapes that one vine is carrying, so can we start change now.
Wow.
If the leader is there, okay, with the vine spring, and then one grape bunch.
Yeah.
How many grapes are on there? If we can go that way, but change starts now, then we are going to do that.
Yeah. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Thank you. Okay. Can I give you a chance also? Can I ask that, yeah, oh, you have a mic, thank you.
Yes,
Yes.
Burisela nami. Comrade Murphy, you ex-political prisoner. Just pay a special pension. Ndibuzela aba bakhatywayo umntu wayegwetywe 20 years waphuma ngo-90 etrongweni abasifumani special pension. And bengasifani nje banqenye basipopa abanye abahleli phaya elokishini baselumthova lala abaphangeli. Zii-ex-political prisoners ezo. Kwathiwa apha umntu ozayifumana i-special pension ngo-96 una-35 years usuka ngelaa xesha uyotsho siyavala i-special pension nge-1 kaDisemba 1996. And kuba ngasifonwana yiyo oComrade Peter ababadala wayehleli 3 years kwi-state of emergency akasifumani special pension. ingaba naku uzaba khona utshintsho lokwenza special pension ukuze sikwazi abanye bangasimaniyo angacela komunye umuntu. Ingaba uzaba kutshintsho nakwenza special pension xa ungene nina, xa ungene thina nami sendinvolve apha.
Enkosi Dad. Okay. Okay, can I just give, yeah. Please don't forget to give us your name as well, just so that we respond correctly. Thank you.
Molweni,
Molweni.
goeiemiddag.
Goeiedag.
Good. Good afternoon. My name is Melikaya Chabalala. My English name is Ashton. I'm residing at New Brighton. I was born and bred there. I used to be a comrade, mid-80s. I was also fighting for this democracy, for this freedom of South Africa. I also come from jail. I spent four years there in Jackson prison. Yeah, they were talking about special pension and stuff, but for me, I'm careless about that because it seems to me it happens to certain individuals. Okay, right. What I want to know here, ever since this ANC took over from apartheid regime, all other countries, they came here as many in South Africa. So much we South Africans, we never fulfill this democracy because it seems like the people from outside this country, is them, they've got the chance to do everything. So I've been always thinking, I wonder, because I last voted 1994. For the past 30 years, I never vote because I see no difference, you see. So I've been wishing that, hey, I wish that there can be a party that can see, that can work out these foreigners here in South Africa. Because here in South Africa, South Africans are struggling. Those guys, they get to employ us. You know, our business is nothing close because government doesn't support our business, only support for these foreigners. Okay, other than that, life goes on. We struggle. I'm 58 years now, but I initiate a club. This is my club, as you can see. You see, because I can see out there many young future generation, many young leaders of the future. They end up doing drugs, doing every bad things because there is no future, there's no support. You see. So I initiate this club. I said to my wife, Lavi, I want to start this thing because I've been cycling all my life. I love fitness, you know, I love fitness. I've been cycling. I went to stay at Cape Town for 20 years and then I came back. I was doing the same thing, cycling, where I recruit all the young people to come and join me so that they can get away from the bad things out there because they don't have nothing to do. Some, they come from school, they don't have something to do, you see. So, yeah, we cater everything, we cater food for these guys because some of them, they are from disadvantaged families. No one is sponsoring us. Here in PE, I went anywhere from pillar to post. Then they are less interested, especially the so-called white people. They don't support black child. So this club is representing a black child, especially in the location, you see. So we don't have a sponsor. In order for this club to get a sponsor, I must go as far as Cape Town and Plettenberg Bay. Here in PE, no one is sponsoring us. So I'm just introducing this club. We name it Race for Hope, you know. So I want all the mothers that are here now, they can tell their child about this club. Just, Nalam, if you don't have anything to do, here's the club. This club will save your life, will take you away from the street, you see. Because these guys here, they are the guys, they are also from They are also from disadvantaged families.
Yeah.
From the gym, they come back from the gym, they are hungry. I'm a security guard by profession, I can say. My wife is a teacher by profession, but she never get a job. She just go to school for nothing. So we initiate this thing, hoping, because as we can see, I love kids, she also loves kids. So I said to her, let's do this. We're gonna sacrifice. What we eat, they're gonna eat. You see? The little bit money that I have, I share with them. You must buy 12.5 fish oils because they like amagwinya. So from the gym, she must bake, and so that when we come from the gym, she must eat.
Yes.
So please, guys,
Yeah.
I wonder, will you please get rid of the foreigners? And then I will vote for you. I will vote for you. Just get rid of the foreigners here in this country.
Okay.
I'll vote for you.
Sure. Thank you so much, then. Thank you so much.
Thank you
That's
very
right.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ntete Ashton. Can I ask that can I just ask that I'm sure, let me just see, we've had 2 questions so far. Can I take that 3? All right, so I have Marshall, Marshall, yes, it's 3, yeah. Can I ask that I give this round, please, Ntete Mike, and then the next round will be our last round, and then we'll wrap it up, okay? Can I ask that again, we just be short, sharp, sweet, and to the point. Ntete Murphy, could you just assist us with the first 2 questions? Thanks.
Thank you. There is something very interesting about these questions. And what I love about them is that they start with a question with someone saying, what can someone do for me? But halfway through, as the person thinks about the question, they then realize, actually, no, I'm also part of the solution here. I must also do something. So, which I think, just like yourself say, and your team, you had issues, been in prison, issues of pensions don't work, but you stood up your own bootstraps and took the initiative. Because my way of thinking about it is this: until you do something, nothing happens. Until you do something, nothing happens. But a caring government that understands these things would then put effort and time to create the support system to ensure that people who think like you, looking for solution, who are not waiting for handouts, want to solve real issues that are happening now, you stand up. A government that understands that should put in place the support system that would enable you to be able to do that. It's not about saying we are going to give you all the money. You know, I know that no government will have all the money that is needed to fix the things. But if people take their own initiatives, a government that is caring, that understands its role as not to being the kings of society, but the supporters of people to realize the best that they can. For me, that is the posture that I actually think Change Starts Now will be taking in the way in which it sets up relationships. I come from civil society myself. I work in various civil society organizations. I started my life as a trade union organizer, and I work in Soweto with the civics and the UDF. We had community organizations. Nanko Michael, Abantu, who used to work in PEPCO, they'll remember those days. And those were people who stood up and said, we have to change our condition. And then the support came. I was in the UDF office in Johannesburg. I used to come down to provide support, to get the funding for pamphlets, etc., and work will happen where it's supposed to work. Because work does not happen in head offices. That is why government gets into this state, because they think they can make decisions, but they don't think about how to get those decisions acting, because they are distant from the people. Once they get elected, the distance between them and us just increases. We become a problem. You know, those who are supposed to be constituency officers, they're even afraid of coming to the community because they don't know how to talk to people. So that to me is one of the problems. So the questions that have been asked and have been raised is that we have to find those support mechanisms between the state and civil society, and people must organize themselves. I'm so happy that the colleagues from Grahamstown, from Emakana are here, and their story about how their civics started in 2021, based on the problems in that community. Now they have a significant and a strong civil society system that already even they have representatives, councillors that were able to elect and removed, in fact, ANC councillors and put in people's councillors that speaks to the needs of the people. So that's basically what should be happening. Where is Ashton? He's out. I wanted to say this whilst he's here, but maybe Umama Ukona, you know, pillow talk, you'll tell him what I said. The issue of foreigners, I think, you know, when every country, when there are economic problems, what do people do? We all do this. You know, we all feel threatened by anything else that we think is not one of our own. So we prioritize that things belong to us first, and everybody else must stand at the end of the queue. But, you know, Umamapa, is it Masana? You know, when you spoke about the vine, you know, you simplified an issue that in companies, they'll pay consultants and advisors thousands of rands to have a workshop, and at the end of the workshop, they'll come up with that drawing of a vine and what it means to be a leader and how society needs to be fashioned. But your imagery is really the imagery that he's planted a vine, you know, with the young people. And actually, maybe that's his calling. All of the things that haven't happened, maybe they haven't happened for a reason. But this calling is what he has to do, and it's that vine. Because look at all those beautiful bunches of grapes that are sprouting from there. He had an opportunity today, thanks to Change Starts Now, to talk to all of you, to say, please send your children to me, because in me, in my vine, there is enough space for them to prosper and give more grapes. So that's basically the story of what happens when we find each other, when we collaborate, when we share our experiences, because some of the answers may not lie in Change Starts Now. They actually lie with you. So we need to create a system that will allow those solutions to be recognized, to be captured, and for us to think about how we implement them. So I think that in Dabama foreigners, I would say for me, it's very easy to see foreigners as a problem when actually they are not the problem. They are not the cause. We need to understand what causes things to be the way they are. You know, in Johannesburg, every corner, every bridge, there are people sleeping under bridges. Among recyclers, there's a story. People say a lot of them are foreigners. Sure, there are people from the Lesotho there. I know for a fact, because I walk around Joburg, I can see them. But what you find, actually, many more people there are not foreigners. They come from the Eastern Cape, they come from KwaZulu-Natal, because they all get drawn to Johannesburg. Now imagine if Johannesburgers say, these are foreigners, they don't belong to Johannesburg, they must go back to the Eastern Cape, go back. Once it starts there, it leads us into a spiral where, in fact, we actually can have serious problems of undermining even what the Constitution expects us to do, to set up a caring environment. Now, we are part of an international society, we are part of the world. As a matter of fact, some of the foreigners have got skills. You know, I've seen some of them doing shoe making, and you talk to the guys, and the guy is a master's student. For anybody who can travel from up in the Sahara and find their way to Cape Town. You know, there is something there in the desire to survive, you know, for people to make those kinds of journey, when in fact it could just be fine to stay at home, a happy home, things grow, we've got food, etc. Then nobody will be moving around. They will all be happy here. But we need to have a caring environment, because life is about being reciprocal. What you do to others, they will also do unto you, because you can never say where you'll be tomorrow. And it is important in the way you carry your life and your business and your country, you accept the fact that we don't live in a little pot. We are part of a whole world, you know. Palestine right now, you know, the Palestinians are suffering a terrible fate, you know. And I can tell you now, they are all over the countries as refugees from that situation. And so we therefore need to have proper policies. In the end, it's not even so much the problem of foreigners. We've got clear laws in this country that says what should happen when somebody comes in here. But if our government does not apply those laws that they've got in terms of border control, etc., if those systems are corrupted, that is the problem. It's not the person who ends up under a bridge in your neighborhood. So you need to fix the thing at the source, and then other things will then follow. But one understands why people will feel the way they do. But I think that it is important for us to open our hearts. And I think there's nothing as feeling good as knowing that you've helped another human being. You know, anything else becomes secondary.
Yeah. Thank you, Mama. Maybe just before, if you'll allow me just 2 minutes quickly.
Okay.
Because I think it was just last week where we were at Alex taxi rank, and a question around, foreigners came up again. And I think, Roger, you had an insight on that. Do you mind just sharing that on your side?
Thank you very much. Can I also just, before I get to this topic, can I just talk to Auntie Marsha? Auntie Marsha, you know, I'm clearly not, let me put this differently. You know, I go to church with my mother quite often on Zoom, okay? So, and I grew up in a Christian home, in a big Christian family. And I listened very carefully to what you said. We are a diverse country. We have Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, and we respect each other. But I want to talk to you because you raised the issue of standing on the rock. I have a very basic rule that I live my life by. And it's quite simple. And I actually learned it from my father, who wasn't a very religious guy. But he said to me, and it sort of goes into the other question that you raised, right? You know Mark chapter 8. That's the way I live my life. And people say this and do that. And it's very simple because it applies to the path that I've taken now. And it goes like this, and you can go read it for yourself because it will shape the way you live your life. It says, "For what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul?" And I think that is a compass for people who stand in front of communities and say, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Because when you get there, you need to keep that compass. And so that's a guiding light. You know, you asked the question about coalitions and which party. The truth of the matter is, and this is why it's so important, when you form a coalition, now I've never done it, so I'm giving you a view. It's going to involve other parties. And the question becomes, what I do know is that the current government needs a timeout. I think South Africa needs a break from all of this. We need a timeout from these guys. And they need to go and think about life and the world, because clearly they need a break. Which means that the rest of the parties in this country are going to have to find each other. And are going to have to talk to each other. You know, and you said, you know, you mentioned the ANC and the DA, and there are lots of other parties. And so the reason why we didn't simply say, let's go and join a party, is because we think there needs to be a new, fresh way of thinking about this country. And that means we need to come up with a vision and a view for where this country is going. And then when we talk about a coalition, we don't go there and say, okay, if you're the president, I want to be the minister of that, and then you take that position, which is part of the problem with these coalitions. We want to sit down with those parties and say, this is the South Africa we think we should be working towards. Do you agree with that vision? And we won't agree on everything, but let's find the things that we can agree on. And let's form the coalition out of that. And then let's move forward. And that's really the way we are seeing this whole thing. You know, this question of foreigners in our country. As South Africans, people have been so squeezed out of living in dignified places. People are starving. There's no jobs. And then what do? We look for the person closest to blame, and then when they're gone, then the next person who doesn't look like us, and I think Murphy alluded to this. The problem in this country, okay, the problem here is that we don't have borders. No country can just have people walking across the border. Every country has foreign people. So there are South Africans living in other parts of this continent of Africa and America and anywhere. Our companies in South Africa, when you travel on the continent, and I have traveled extensively on the African continent, which we are a part of, by the way. Because you see, as South Africans, we like to talk about South Africa and then we say Africa. This is Africa. We are Africans, and we must turn to each other. We mustn't turn on each other. But that doesn't mean we have open borders where people just come in and out. And so part of this is making sure that people in South Africa are documented and are here legally, and we have to fix our borders. And we have to be responsible because our companies, we make things here that we sell on the rest of this continent. And when we create a demand for our things, the cars we make here, the pharmaceuticals, a whole range of other products. You can travel on the continent. You'll see South African companies on this continent, MTN, SPAR, you name them. That is creating jobs here. And so we're part of this universe, and we have to manage this thing very carefully. But the start for us is we have to fix our borders so that we know that the people who are in South Africa are here legally. And that's the approach that we would take. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I noted two more hands, and can I just ask that those be the last hands for our round of questioning, please? Is that okay with everyone? Okay. Dr. Mike, can I just start with you?
Thank you very much.
Can I ask that we bear with
one another? My name is Mike Tlago, ex-AGO.
Right.
And then my first small question or comment is for the gentleman who stood here for these kids. Without buying any face or support, I don't know whether he's around or he's outside. Tell him that I will commit to support him between February and June. And just give him this card. Between February and June. You must call me, then you can have a discussion. Secondly, on the content. We inherited 9 homelands in this country from apartheid. And then we thought it was a good compromise for our country. And it became the biggest devil that keeps on eating the funds of these residents and the people in this hall. The biggest of them is the Eastern Cape and that Cape and that Cape. Perhaps we should find a way, Roger, my friend, and Murphy, of a radical change to this devil called provinces and premiers and MECs. Always corrupted or dealings behind our scenes and making things so unbearable for all people of the Eastern Cape. They are busy talking about 4 provinces. So something is happening somewhere. So my view is, as a resident of PE, I would have loved that your policies on the provinces should be 0 provinces. And a new system completely, if it is going to take change starts now. My change starts now, that's why I'm here. It's because I would like us to get rid of provinces, bottom line. The second one is that I would like us, Murphy and Roger, to give us a radical policy on housing, radical, from the current RTP house, so that we can find ourselves comfortable. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Sisi, let me just give Mama and then you'll be the last one. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, MC. Nandi Mkhungeka Mashiane from Emakanda. I'd like to thank you about your message, which you say, when we are talking about change. I realized that we are in the same boat because our movement, Makana Citizen Front, which we started it on 1st of June, 2021. We see our city, which was a city of saints. Nowadays, it is a city of shame. Because all over the streets, there was a sewage. Even in the yards, the streets are full of potholes. Even now, I changed to the swimming pools. Our youth are roaming the streets. They were jobless. Even after 30 years, the ANC is on government. There are still people who are using bucket system. Even those bucket system, they didn't collect it. It's a 2-year now. Those bucket system, they pour it in the stream. And on that stream, there were children who were swimming there. And there are people who throw the dead dogs and the cats. And even our water, I was so sad when you raised the question of water. Because our water, which we drink now, are contaminated with sewage. Down here too. Yasegini, it attracts tourists. Is in shame. Then that's why we decided, as the people of Makanda, that we want change. And Safomi Shalombuto Makana Citizen Front. Uba silwele rights zethu. Because umbuto sasuthembile we ANC ozasilwela namhlanje usifake kobugxwayi basikubo. And silwile within 4 months. Kodwa sakwazi basingafumana 18.1 votes. Safumana 5 seats in the council. I'm one of the PRs there. Then, when you come with this change, I'm in. Because we are talking the same issue we have in South Africa. Thank you.
Enkosi, Ma'am. Enkosi. Sisi, you'll be our last question for the day. And can I just remind everyone, please, if you'll allow me, that Do not worry, we are not running away after this session. We'll still be around, and each of our panel members will be available where we can have follow-up one-on-one conversations as well. I think let's just be mindful of the fact that some of our guests here come from far away, and we'd like to give them an opportunity to get back home safely, okay? All right, Mama, last question.
Enkosi sisi.
Umhle sisi, yes?
Ndiyabulela.
Yeah.
Enkosi. Lo ume apha uyaziwe ngokwaPeter ndivela eWoma. Kula community vulnerable. Community egcwele abantu abatsha abangaphangeliyo. I-community egcwele amanina azama ukwenza i-projects i-NPO yonke nje into, but they don't get funding. I-community enabantwana abangamantombazana abamikhulelwa besesikolweni. Ndingumzali ke ndime kule ndawo nje. Ndizaba na 50 years ngo-October. Ndime apha nje ndithetha ndiva kabuhlungu. Ndisiva kabuhlungu nje andiveli mna ndedwa kabuhlungu. Ndivela nabanye oomama, ootata, obhuti, oosisi abalapha kule ndawo. We've been voting and voting since 1994. Kokokuqala mna ndi-attenda i-conference yomnye umbutho ekumila konje. Oko ndaba loyal. But what do I get in return? Ndinomntana wapasa ugrade 12 with bachelor's degree ngo-2010. Lamhlanje lo mntana uphangela apha endaweni ezingenamsebenzi uthutha iveg udeliverisha kwii-restaurants. NSFAS akaba assist abantwana bethu. We are the poor of the poorest. But we are voting for the so-called African National Congress. Ezakuthi isithembise with huge promises. But when it comes to take our kids to school, it fails us dismal. Crime is very high in Woma. By 7 o'clock in Woma, you cannot walk on the street uphethe ifone yakho. Izawuthathwa. We don't have a police station. Uzawubethwa ngoku. Ubiza amapolisa. Funeka uye kwi-white areas for amapolisa. By the time ufika e-police station e-9th Avenue, sewureyitshwe kangaphi for uyofika pha. Uyovula icase yohlaselo. Uyoreport ukuphatheka kakubi. Umna yaswelekelwa ngumntana kamakazi wami in front of my eyes. Ndibiza ambulance from 8 o'clock. Yayofika u-12 midnight, ambulance ayizange ifike. Waligabha sabonga igazi wasweleka. Ambulance ayifiki because kuthiwa funeke escortwe ngamapolisa. Amapolisa aya-outa phaa kwizitrato zaseWoma ngeveni zomthetho. Uzawufuna amapolisa kuthiwe iveni azikho. Urequest ubiza i-Uber. Xa ifika i-Uber uzawudlula nansi iveni imile kwistrato esithile. Akho mntu ngaphakathi. Cinyiwe iveni aba-attend icase. Umasipala wethu obizwe njenge-iconic iNelson Mandela. Une EPWP. O-exploita abantu. Njani? Uzawunika i-contract kuthiwe 2 months. Uzakwenza ntoni nge-contract ye-2 months? Uzele nabantwana nefamily funeka uyondlini. Inyuswe kuthiwe ngu-6 months. Umama ophetheyo phayana yena onabantu bakhe athi khawunika abanye abantu i-chance. I am 49 years old. On the 10th of October, I'm turning 50. Bendipha ku-EPWP. Lithe ilizwi xa liphuma khaninika abanye abantwana i-chance. Zaphinda ndiqeshwe phi? Kwi-50 years yam zaphinda ndiqeshwe phi? Phaa endlini ndazama ndazithengela umatshini wothunga. Ndiyazama uzenzela because wathi uThabo Mbeki ivuka uzenzela, ndi wrong? Ndiyazenza iintsimbi, ndiyahlohla.
Okay.
Ngoku kune opportunity yomfana osuka from eKing Williamstown. La mfana uza apha eBhayi. Uzofundisa abantu ukuhlohla iintsimbi. Uthi la bhuti, in order for wena uzongena eklasini yam uzothatha ufunde iintsimbi wohlukane nokuhlohla ngenalithi uzosebenzisa i-loom machine, give me i-850. Ndizayithatha phi? Andiphangeli. Nzayonqonqoza kopha umnyango kwamasipala so that ndizokwazi ufumana abanye abantu nabo abanezikills ezifana nezi zam sikwazi uyofumana le opportunity.
Yeah.
Ngubani ozawusinceda? Mna ndime kule ndawo nje, I don't know whether ndi-disgruntled okanye ndi-angry for i-African National Congress. Andizazi uba ndindawo. Bendizixelele into yobana mna I'm not going to vote anymore. Pha endlini kum iivote eziphumayo ziyi-6 phakathi endlini, let alone ifamily yam. Sibethelwa abantwana ngoobhuti abakherileyo. Akunayo kulaa bhuti yombuza ngomso umntana kuzawuzodutyulwa funeka kuthuthe icwaka. Ngoku ngo-October bendiyongcwaba utata emnyameni. Ndithe xa ndifika wangena umntana wathi tata ndibethwa ngubhuti bani. Xa umbuzo umbethela ntoni umntana uthi bendingamazi ngowakho, funeka ibe ngokabani? Funeka ibe ngokwabani umntana zibe kanti uyasinda akabethwa. Where is this country going? Where are our youth going? It's wrong igcwele and isezogcwala because of the ANC doing. I-crime is going up and up every day. There are no job creations. Abantwana sebebanjwa nje namhlanje, they are creating job. Baphuma kumakhaya balambile. There is no way out. Abona I must go and rob that lady and sell that phone to the foreigners. Pha eCentral awukwazi uhamba free. Yawuthathwa ngamaNigeria as if ukutya okuvuthweyo.
Sure.
Akuthathe kukho human trafficking, but our government, what is he doing with that? Nothing. Abantwana bethu bayalahleka bacholwe befile. Bayafunyanwa abantu abababulalayo because kaloku money makes the world goes round. In this country. Uyabamba apha uzayithenga umuntu icase. Apha. Andithe andizazi noba ndi-angry noma ndi-disgruntled okanye nditheni, but there is this feeling endiyiyo. Now I am here. I want to change that thing that I see that is happening. I want to see my life change.
That's right.
I want to see the life of these people change.
That's right.
How are we going to do that?
Yeah.
How are you going to change our lives? Change the lives of our kids. Change the situation of the colleges and universities in school so that our kids can be at school. Asizuva kamandi xana sizawuphuma apha thina siyovota, then this change ifumane isithi pha kwi-council cabinet, emveni koko you forget about us. Please don't do that to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Nkosi Sisi. Nkosi Sisi. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask that we allow Dade Mefi or pardon? That. Oh, okay, yeah, he's been raising his hand. Yeah. Yeah. How about let me hand over to you and then we'll find the cards. Okay, I'll just ask Dade Mefi. Kumnandi Gqeberha. It's nice to be here. Change starts. Change starts. Thank you so much. Dade Mefi.
Thank you very much. I'm going to find a summarized way. I'll do a summarized way of the stuff that has been said now. But that gentleman there with the sunglasses on your head, your enthusiasm to ask a question is recognized, sir.
Speak here.
Yeah, speak.
My name is Mr. Yu Seung. Our MC there upstage, you have failed us today. Failed us today, comrade. But nevertheless, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not going to keep you long. My plane don't fly that long, or did I? I'm not going to keep nobody up. Today, we expressed a lot of, we had a lot of drive, and the energy we had seen here today, I love it. It is very painful, but we will, I believe that we will find a change here. And change starts now. And I would like to say, change starts today. We will grow in numbers, and we will show South Africa what is Ubuntu. I'm not going to touch on a lot of things. I just want to comment basically. Everything has been summarized, the unemployment, the economy. You know, the thing that is very painful in Port Elizabeth, I'll say, or in government, we have World Committee members that's got portfolios of safety and security. We've got MMCs that is safety and security portfolios. But these people, they do not do their research. They are only there for the money. They need to go and do research, because I've got two companies, two registered companies. I'm a structural engineer by profession, and I always make sure that the community around me, or especially our youth, they get somewhere, because I'm working with one specific person in our northern areas, and I employ him for many years. We know each other from young. He's our Mayor Stanley. Really, he is our leader in the northern areas. I want to thank you, comrades, for this. I want to thank you, Change Starts Now, for being here today and touching so many hearts today. And I know that we can move forward and make and bring that change. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Mike, 30 years should give us an opportunity to see what works and what does not work, and to change that which does not work. You speak about the provinces. That's something deep in my heart. I know it's a long process because it's a constitutional thing, but there's nothing that says we can't be the ones that initiate the process for South Africa to start to talk about whether the structure of government that we have, is it itself not a problem, because national, provincial, and local government, everything has to happen at municipal level, at this local government level. We've got this structure in between that is like, you know what it's like? It's like, you know, this thing they call love handles. You know, it's there. You know, you eat, but it just goes there. It makes you look ugly, you know. So the provinces sit in that position where they are almost like funds come from the center. In many instances, money does not reach where it's supposed to go. So the question of whether the provinces actually do what they're supposed to do needs to be debated. Of course, you're right. The Bantustan system, which is our inheritance, you know, it still lives in our system, you know, and so that needs to change. So I think it's worth putting it on our agenda. But Usi Sotetile was a woman. I know she spoke in Xhosa. I'm sure some of you heard some of the things she said, some of you did not hear. But the one thing you did not miss is the passion she was speaking about her condition, her experience. You don't need words for that. You just need the feeling, because that feeling, you can put your own words in relation to your own communities where you come from. So in that way, Siyabulela Sisi, I think you've got us right into the space that says this thing has got to change. You have, Kuma World Cup, when there's a World Cup, we have decided about 2024 World Cup, they will have this kind of something to show this World Cup, either a mascot or something. I think you are going to be Change That's Now mascot. Okay. So I would like them to get us to this point. I know some of you have traveled distances, the furthest from Makana. We thank you very much for having come. And I would want now, as my way of saying thank you and goodbye, and ask Roger Chadin to give us the last word, and then Moi, I will say Moi, the beautiful one, will then tell us what to expect and how we move out of here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Can I start by saying thanks, Bramike. I'm going to focus on the last two women who spoke. And if you didn't know this today, now you know it. Watinta Bafazi. Watinta Bafazi. That was powerful. Thank you very much for that. Also, my sister, your story about what you had to experience was so shocking. And I think from all of us here, we want to share our condolences. And we can only imagine the pain that you went through. And after a relative has been killed, with no ambulance, waiting, that is just so wrong. And so we feel that pain with you. Thank you, everyone. Sitting up here and looking around this room, this is the South Africa that we want and the South Africa that we deserve. This is the South Africa that we want and the South Africa that we deserve. So thank you, everyone, for coming, for sharing with us. Baie dankie. Indifuna. Ukuyazi isikosa nomtlanje, ne? So today, nomtlanje. We look forward to working with you. We are building something great together. When we meet again, we will be stronger. Please talk to your friends, family, churches, mosques, and let's build the South Africa that we want. Because change starts now. 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 Thank you very much. Ngiyabonga.
I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to be here. And, some of us are still young, ne? So I heard a song, Mr. DJ, and I think as we exit, I would like you to play it because I think it's really meaningful. It's not just a background song by Gqeberha the Small. And it's called Imithandazo. There we go. Bambelela mngani wami. So phumelela yizwa ngami. Lento ngeyethu sinikiwe. So buya kusasa ngamanye amandla. Oh Nkosi. And that is so profound. And that is so profound and so meaningful to what we're trying to do today. You can see that the energy from the room is amazing. Let's just hang in there. Let's just hang in there one more time. But I would like to translate these words into English, and it says, hold on, my friend. We will succeed, my friend. This thing is ours, and it has been given to us. We will come back tomorrow with a revived power. And that's what today is. It is a collective of people coming together with a revived power and a strong sense of purpose of changing this country. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you. We will definitely be back. In the meantime, I would like us to please connect with one another, reach out to one another. And I always say, Ma'am, I worked in a municipality and we started an organization, rather an initiative where Abu Mama said we will donate 10 rand, all of us in this community, to this lady for this month. And we will help her set up i-acha, i-flower, yogenza makwenya. Then when she's done, we'll set up the next one, ogenza amakota. Then when she's done, we'll set up the next one and buy a washing machine so that she can start her laundry business. So the answer came from them. And then she said, you know, Moy, what happened was that day when I said to you, I'm jobless and I don't know where to start. You said to me, no, you're not jobless, you are self-employed. And that's where you need to start. It starts with that paradigm shift. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We will be serving refreshments outside. I want to wish you all the best as we start this new journey. Don't forget to talk to each other, to keep each other inspired, because the answer is within all of us. Thank you so much. God bless.